Good evening. Anyone there? No, not yet. We'll wait till somebody comes on. I'm on my own, but it looks there's somebody. Give us a wave or a thumbs up or whatever, and let me know who's there. Oh, we have a couple there now. We'll give it a moment or two. Hiya, Lindsay. Did you get it? So we're down to one. Lindsay, you and I. we'll give it a moment and then get started. Now we've two, whoever that is. So, okay, let's get started. So, I have a few questions this evening. More than last week, thank God. I've only one last week. So, yeah, the first question that came in this week was asking me about bunions, which is quite interesting because I see a lot of them, and yeah, it can be quite painful. Good evening, and two Lindsay's there. Good evening, Lindsay. Bunions can be quite painful to deal with, and I've seen some people struggle with them forever, and there's not a lot can be done about them unless you're going to be prepared to do some intense work on your feet. So, what causes the bunions? I used to hear all the time that it was just wearing pointy shoes, but then you see guys with them as well, and it's like, okay, you don't see guys running around all the time in high heels. Maybe they do sometimes, but not all the time. Joking, of course. So, yeah, what happens with bunions is it's to do, because it's at the big toe, lots of people think it's the big toe going out of place, which it is. But what it truly is the first metatarsal in the foot. It's a big bone, and what you're usually looking at is a displacement of that metatarsal. There's a lot of bones in the foot. There's a lot of small bones. Actually, let me even talk about the foot for a moment. What you have with the foot is a very complicated system of a network of bones, muscles, ligaments. There's so much involved in the foot. But think about this for a moment. There's three arches in the foot. And when you stand on it, you have the arch that we all know, we all understand the instep. But you also have an arch going across the lower end of the foot and across the upper end of the foot. So you have three arches. And when we stand up on our feet, it's been said that there's no structure on the planet that supported the way our body is with those three arches. It's never been replicated in engineering, so it's a very complicated, very completely incredible structure the foot is, the way it's made up of all those bones and ligaments and tendons and muscles and so on. So when you get a displacement of the first metatarsal, the biggest one, that's what's happening when you get a bunion. It's like the metatarsals run alongside each other, and it's like you get a split going outwards for the first metatarsal, and then the toe is attached onto it. So the toe tends to go in a little, and the piece you're seeing sticking out as the bunion is actually the metatarsal. That's the big bone in the foot. So that's what you're dealing with. So how do you correct it? There are clinics out there that work with the feet. There's one guy in Tullamore that I send a lot of people to, and he does amazing work hand making insoles for people. So if you're struggling with your feet, get in touch, and I won't give his number out here, but I can. If you know, if you're someone who's really struggling with your feet, let me know, and I'll pass you on his information. He's very hard to get, but you'll get him if you wait. And as far as I'm concerned, he's worth the wait. He's amazing. I've seen him do magical things. But getting back to your bunions, I really never truly thought you could do anything with them, because any that I usually meet in the clinic when I'm working on people, if you go to do anything with them at all, they're usually quite painful, and the person just doesn't want you to touch them. So that's okay. They manage. But I used to do a lot of Bikram yoga, which Bikram yoga is the whole program of Bikram yoga is they heat the room up to 100 degrees, and you go in and you do 26 exercises, and you repeat each exercise twice, and you hold each posture for a full minute with a 30-second break in between, then you go again. And they have three different exercises that really bring you up onto your toes. And I have seen quite serious bunions completely straighten out with a person who did that type of yoga regular. And when I say regular, it was at least 5 times a week. But in a period of maybe 3 to 4 months, I saw that person's bunions completely straighten out. Now, when they stopped doing Bikram yoga after a while, after a couple of years, um, the bunions eventually just crept back out. But it was amazing for me as a therapist to see that happening. Now, when you understand the whole structure of the foot, from the big toe right into the ankle, and so on up into the knees and the hips and so on, it's just your big toe has such an important role to play. And if it's displaced because of that metatarsal and you have your bunion, it's more than just looking at that. You really do have to go deep into the foot to realign the structure of it. There are stretching exercises, there's lots of things you can do. But what I would suggest, if you're struggling with pain, you're going to get a build-up of inflammation around that joint. So Epsom salts is tremendous. Regular soaking in warm, hot, don't scald your foot, but as hot as you can get it with a good amount. Like if you're talking a basin of water, you want to be talking about a good mug full of Epsom salts into the basin of water. You can also throw a mug full of, I know I spoke about bicarbonate of soda last week for many things, but it's an amazing mineral. So you could throw that into the mix as well, but definitely Epsom salts, and it'll pull out any inflammation around the joint. Then when your foot is really warm, maybe you can massage it afterwards and stretch the toe. The big toe can turn in circles in your hand both ways. Um, I know from when I was a martial artist, um, the grandmaster in Japan always spoke about waking up in the morning and turning his toe 40 times in one direction in circular motion, and then 40 times back the other way. And he used to tell us, you should be doing that every day. Loosen off those big toes. They're so important for the alignment of your body to have them free. So what you're dealing with there with a bunion is much more than what it just looks like. It's just that the foot is in trouble rather than the area that you're going to feel the pain. And it's about working the foot. If regular, I often tell people, get golf balls, and when you're watching TV, soak your feet, have them really warm, get the golf ball onto the floor and play around with it. It's quite hard. Press into it, get used to it, massage your feet all the time. If you have good hips and knees that you can bring the foot up onto your lap, there's no harm in massaging away in between the toes, right down the length of your foot. Get in deep, and watch what happens. Stretch, and more stretch. Bend the toes. Your big toes should be flexible. You should be able to stand at a skirting board and put the big toe right up the wall with the ball of your foot pressing in against the skirting board. And if you have bunions, you won't be able to do that. So practicing like that is good. Then coming up onto the toes in a balanced way. That's the exercises that are in Bikram. But saying that, it's not just about toe exercises. With that person I seen straighten out their feet, that was an overall program. So the knees were being worked on, the hips were being worked on, and so on and so on. It wasn't just focusing on the feet. There's only 3 minutes in each of those classes that you're doing those exercises. So yeah, regular work on it. don't be afraid to get in and massage them out and stretch them and turn them and get them flexible again, and watch what happens, and stay off the high heels. When you stand up on high heels, the pressure that goes down into those joints, you just wouldn't believe. If you think about the size of the joint and you think about the size of us, all that weight bearing when you stand up in a high heel goes down into the ball of the foot. So think about that as well. Okay. So hopefully that helps. Now, another question I was asked to speak about tonight was skin disorders, particularly on the face. Um, a lot of teenagers suffer with it. A lot of people in their 20s, you'll see them suffering with it. And, you heard me speaking a couple of weeks ago about the skin being the biggest organ that we have. So we always have to come back to that when you're looking at blemishes on the skin, wherever they may be, whether it's around here, whether it's on your elbows, wherever it may be. But acne, for instance, I've helped a lot of young teenagers over the years with acne in a very simple way. Obviously, right, let me start again. I'll get to what has helped it in a few minutes. But quite obviously, when the skin is breaking out with problems, what that is the body will always try to push toxicity out through the skin. It's a very porous organ, the whole skin. It's, like I said, it's the biggest one we have. We sweat through it, we get waste out through it. It's our lymphatic system. Just you can rub your lymphatic system. It just sits under the skin, so it's in many places like our armpits and so on and so on. It's all over. You can get lymphatic massage. It's very painful, by the way, because if the lymphatic system isn't working properly through, say, regular exercise and things like that, um, it can block up and be very painful. Especially run your knuckles down the side of your leg and see what that feels like. So when you're in the shower, you should get an image. You'll see it on the internet of where the lymphatic system is. It's in all different parts of the body, and when you're in the shower, pay a bit of attention to those areas. When you have soap on your hands, shampoos, just make it so you're not causing friction burns, and pay a bit of attention to always be wakening up the lymphatic system. It's very good for detoxification on that level, to allow the body to push things out through the skin. So when you're looking at blemishes or problems with the skin, usually what it's telling us is there's toxicity in the body and it's breaking through. The body is pushing it out through the skin. And what do most of us do? We get creams, we get things to put on and suppress that release that the body is trying to make. And all that happens then is if you push it back in, it's going to end up at another organ. And we won't see that. Now, over time, we may feel that that organ may start to get sluggish or sick. So it's very important when something's coming out through the skin to encourage it to come out, or to look at the reasons why that's happening. And it usually down to diet or medication, or, I spoke about birth control pills and things like that a few weeks ago. You can't underestimate the power that the body has for ridding itself of toxicity. And if you're someone that's taking medication, is on a birth control pill, is doing anything like that to interfere with all the hormonal imbalance in your body, your body will take the toxic part of that and try to push it out. And as I said, the first place it's going to push it out is through the skin. So help it out. How do we help it out? When you're What it is it's an inflammatory disorder. So let's think about, if you're someone who's suffering with your skin, first thing you need to address is, what am I putting into my body? What type of food am I putting in? And if I'm on medication, what type of medication? Look at the side effects of the medication. Have a look, see, does it mention the disorder that you're dealing with? It'll be in the small print and a long list of side effects. So I'm, I'm just saying that's a possibility. The bigger possibility is diet related again. Once again, we come back to diet related. And it seems to be that's going to always be the case like that. This machine of ours is a machine, and it's a very highly evolved machine. And if it was a car you were driving, you'd be servicing it on a regular basis. You'd be looking after it. You'd be cleaning it. You'd be doing all the things that we do with it to make it look lovely and shiny. And then we come back to us. And yes, you can put the makeup on. You can make yourself all pretty and lovely and shiny. But are you paying attention to what you're putting into your body? Um, a lot of these inflammatory disorders will first and foremost come out through the skin. Hence, my guess, and this is a guess, it's probably why we see so many young people dealing with skin disorders. I know it was always said it was a hormonal imbalance in teenagers, and that does come into the equation. But what do teenagers mostly eat, especially today with all the convenience foods? All these processed foods are inflammatory. They're going to cause inflammatory disorders in the body. So what we need to do is look at that first and foremost. So then what I've seen work really, really well with the skin is magnesium oil. Now, one of the issues with it is if the blemishes on the skin are broken, if they're open wounds, if it's acne and they're open, you can't put magnesium straight onto that. It's going to burn the face off you. So what you need to do is put it on all other parts of your body that don't have the blemishes. If it's something like a psoriasis or an eczema that's all broken skin, obviously you can't put it on. But you'll find patches of your skin that are clear, and get the magnesium oil onto those. What happens is, again, the skin is porous, so it lets stuff out, but it also absorbs stuff very quickly inward. Now, magnesium oil, what you want to do is get it into your blood. The quickest and best way to get it in is by putting it on your skin and allowing it to absorb, get into your blood system, your bloodstream, and get everywhere it needs to get. Get magnesium into your blood. Now, you may run off and buy magnesium tablets. They won't be strong enough for the disorder on your skin, so you're not really going to see them working. The problem with magnesium when we take it orally is it's a muscle relaxant. And one of the muscles it relaxes is in the bowel. And what happens when you relax your bowel? It can give you diarrhea. It'll start to clean out stuff that sits in there. And that is a major problem with taking magnesium orally. So unless you have, and again, I'm going to be the salesman here, I do have magnesium on my website that's in a liposomal form. And what that means is it bypasses the stomach acid and it gets absorbed through the walls of the bowel. So if you don't like the sensation of the oil on your skin, because what happens, what magnesium is, what the type of magnesium you need for this is called magnesium chloride. It comes from the ocean. It's salty water. It's basically salty water. It feels like an oil. It's so concentrated. It actually feels like an oil on your fingers. But when you put it on your skin, and especially when you need it, what happens is it tends to burn. It gives a tingling, burning sensation, and it can be quite irritating. But what you need to do is leave it on for 20 minutes to a half hour, and then your body will absorb as much of it as it can. It'll absorb enough to have an effect on your system. But consistency is the key. You have to do this every day. And if you do that every day, I've seen bad acne disappear in within 2 weeks. Cleared, gone. Like no scarring, no redness, no anything, just disappeared. So it does work. It's really beneficial. And it's such common sense as to why it works when you understand what magnesium does in our body, depending on who you're speaking to. It can have be anywhere between 600 to 900 enzymatic processes it supports in our body. There's a lady out there called here's my memory going again. There's a book called The Magnesium or the Miracle Magnesium, the Miracle Mineral. Uh, Caroline Myers, no. I'm not 100% of her name at the moment. It's a long time since I read the book, but it's called the Magnesium or the Magnesium, the Miracle Mineral. And she explains in that dozens and dozens and dozens of important things that magnesium does. She reckons she's a doctor, and she just works with magnesium now. She has all her own products and everything, and she just, as a lot of guys out there say, um, it's the number one important mineral that we need, that our body needs. Thanks, Natalie, Carolyn. I knew it was Carolyn. Carolyn Dean, her name is. She's a medical doctor, and I think she's a naturopath. She gave up practice in medicine and became a naturopath. But yeah, it's the number one important mineral that we need. And here's the kicker for you, okay? If you eat processed foods, your body uses magnesium to fight off the effects of the processed food. So you're burning up your magnesium. So let's say you train. So once you sweat, you're burning up your magnesium. If you drink alcohol, your body uses magnesium to fight off the effects. If you smoke cigarettes, same thing. So all the things we know we shouldn't be doing, when we do them, what does our body use to fight them off? It fights them off with magnesium. Now, where do we get magnesium in its natural form? Green leafy vegetables is the most important thing that carries magnesium. But I was speaking to someone about this last week in the clinic, a country lady, and I was saying to her, "Do you remember?" She was from the west coast of Ireland, and I was saying to her, "Do you remember when you were young, the farmers spreading seaweed on the fields?" And she said, "Yeah, absolutely, um, you don't see that anymore. Now, what seaweed is full of minerals, particularly magnesium. If you're putting that on the soil and then growing your spinach or your cabbage or whatever, your green leafy veg, your veg will be full of magnesium. And if you have that in a good diet, well, then great. You don't need these supplements. But if you're the teenager or the young adult eating the processed food for convenience sake because you're busy and you're not getting your green leafy veg in that was grown in a soil that was supported by magnesium, which is not happening anymore. Unless, again, I'm going to have to get this girl on and chat to her. If you're going to McNally's farm on the north side of Dublin near the airport, you're near the ocean. The breeze is going to carry the magnesium in, dump it on the soil, and all that veg will have what it's supposed to have in it. So I think you get what I'm saying here. It's so important to be eating good food to support your system so you won't get these breakouts. If you're getting them and you want to get rid of them, get magnesium into your system. It really will help. Then look at other anti-inflammatories like curcumin, like CBD oil. CBD oil is amazing what it does in the body. It kicks off a deep line system in our body that helps it balance so many things as well. So if you're using the magnesium and you really want to push on with it, get a good anti-inflammatory, a good form of curcumin. Again, they're on the website. CBD, we sell it at the clinic. I'm not allowed to put it on the website because the banks won't deal with me if I do that. What else is good for it? Yeah, your omegas. So, if you're vegan or vegetarian and you're not getting your omegas through supplements that are made from fish oils, you can get um, vegetarian and vegan omegas as well. You'll have to search for them on the internet, but you'll get them. Again, I think I spoke about the fish oils we have at the clinic. They are scored as the number one fish oil in the world in the sense of being non-toxic. And what we're talking about here is toxicity in your body. Your omegas are highly anti-inflammatory, and they're also essential fatty acids. Essential meaning our body doesn't make them. We have to supplement them. And I've heard people comment when they go on those omegas I have at the clinic about how good their skin felt after a few days. So you can add that to the process if you're trying to rid yourself of a problem. And again, just for the nervous system, vitamin B complex would help in a situation like this to just help give your body. If you're struggling with an issue like that and you'd like to clear it up, especially if it's on your face and it's not nice to be looking at that all the time. Look at things like that. Do a 3-month program and reassess it in 3 months' time. But here's more. What are you putting on your skin makeup wise? If you're a girl, if you're a guy, guys are being encouraged nowadays to use all these creams and stuff. I see them being advertised all the time. What you have to realize is so many of these things are full of chemicals, and like I said, the skin absorbs. So anything you're putting on your skin is going to absorb into your blood. And maybe that's what's getting pushed back out. We don't know. Add it all up what you're doing. Look at the chemical content of what you're putting on your skin. Whether they're nice face creams that you're paying a fortune for, or I don't know, toners and all these things. I don't know the names of them. I don't really use anything. Um, but it's so important that we understand what's in these products. The shampoos we use, the soaps we use, all the stuff we put on our skin on a daily basis, they smell lovely. If they smell lovely, you'll usually find they're right. Here's one for you. Your shampoos and soaps. If you look at the ingredients, you'll see the first ingredient as agua or water. The second ingredient is usually sodium lauryl sulfate. I'm going to stop there. The, when the list of ingredients, there can be 50 ingredients, and it might say organic on the bottle, right? But then as you look at all the ingredients, the number one ingredient is the most in there. The second one, the second most, third one, third most, and so on and so on. And you'll usually find when it's saying natural or whatever, there's no restrictions on what they can put on these labels. So you'll usually find that the good stuff is minimal in the product. And if you're washing your skin and the second ingredient on that bottle is sodium lauryl sulfate is a degreaser. And it's also officially known as a carcinogenic, which means it causes cancer. And I'm not just saying that, that's official. They use it in big industrial factories and warehouses and that to clean up oil spillages. But it's what makes the bubbles in your shampoos and your soaps. So have a look at the ingredients on the containers that you're putting on your skin and think seriously about that. Again, here I am acting like a salesman, and I really don't like to do this, but it's to let you know you have options. The reason I work with Dr. Bronner's, and again, you'll see two companies on my website. One is Kind Healthcare that do all the vitamins and minerals. The other is Dr. Bronner's who do all natural healthcare in the sense of your shampoos, your soaps, your toothpaste, your creams, your household detergents. Um, and you might look and go, wow, that's a bit expensive. But what you can do with them all is if you buy a bottle that's, I'm not 100% sure of the prices, if you buy a bottle that's say €10 and you're thinking, well, I can buy a shampoo for 350, what you can do, you can take 50% of that bottle and dilute it into a good mineral water, and now you have double the amount, and you're not taking anything away from it. But there's absolutely no chemicals in them whatsoever. They're all natural, good ingredients. They're so good. The shampoos, they're so natural. You can brush your teeth with them. They don't taste good. They're horrible. I'm not encouraging you to do that, but you can put them in internally and they're not going to do any harm. That's how good that stuff is. So it goes on your skin, it gets absorbed. It's good for you. Look at the list on their balls and see what the difference is. So if you want to treat your skin well, get to natural products. It's so important. Let that lymphatic drainage system, the natural system that we have for ridding ourselves of toxicity, allow that to work properly for you by rigorous exercise, but stop putting chemicals on it because you're going to block it all up. And another one that's most important is the lymphatic nodes under your armpits. Look at the ingredients. I'm not even sure if they list them because it must be God. It's 40 years, I think, since I sprayed deodorant under my armpits. What I use again is magnesium oil under my armpits. And the reason I do that is I know the goodness that's in it. I know how good it is for our body. And you're spraying it straight into one of the poor unfortunates who have breast cancer. What's the first thing they do when they check breast cancer? They take a lymph node to see has the cancer gone into the lymph nodes. And if it has, it means it's in your blood, it's in your system. It can be anywhere in your body then. Now, one of the things that's in all these deodorants is aluminium. And we all know how bad aluminium is for you when it goes inside. And you're spraying it straight into your lymphatic system by spraying it under your armpits. So look at that. Look at what you're doing and start using these natural products. Make magnesium oil your best friend. and use it as your deodorant. And if you think, oh, will it stop the smell? Well, maybe the reason this is a smell is because you're toxic. So assist that whole thing by sweating a bit, clean your food up, clean your diet up, do all these things to assist that, and you'll find that, oh, it's not so bad anymore. When I sweat, it doesn't stink. There's a reason it's stinking. I'm sorry to say that to you. If your feet have an odor, if your armpits have an odor, it's usually because you've ate the wrong foods. And you'll find that one of the funny things I find with myself is I love Indian food. And when I eat Indian food now, I just get the spices coming through. And it's funny. Yeah, you don't want to be going around with that smell off you, but it's funny that maybe because I've been aware of these things for so long, and I don't use all these toxic materials on my skin. I try to eat a good healthy diet most of the time. Um, that when I do eat something that has an odor, it comes out through the armpits straight away. So it's interesting to watch that from my point of view. Um, Watch it for yourself. If you have a blast at the weekend and you go on the beer, or you party a bit too much at the weekend, what's it like on a Monday? You know, check in with yourself. You'll probably see what I'm talking about then, and start to understand this system, this amazing organ that our skin is, and how it can release toxicity and help it to do that. Clean yourself up internally, and you'll make a big difference to what's breaking out through your skin. So hopefully that helps for yourself there. Um, and the other question I was asked, and there's a very simple answer to this, but yeah, you know me, I can talk a while about anything. um, Vitamins for children. And I know the girl who asked the question, again, I'm always going to keep your names confidential, but I know the girl who asked this question has two young children. So, first and foremost, I'm going to answer that question for you. The only real vitamin you should be giving your child is vitamin D3. And it comes in a spray form. You can just spray it into their mouth. And what's recommended for infants at the age we're talking about here is it 900 units a day? And there's a company called The Better You. I usually have the magnesium oil at the clinic, and they do all these sprays that you'll pick up in any health store, and they're very cheap. The bottle for children comes in an orange container, and it has the measurement on the side. So that's really the only vitamin you need for your children. It's the one that's essential, and they've like officially said this in the 60s that it stops rickets, which is the bones in the legs from curving. And the dose for children, if I remember correctly, is 900 units per day. So after that, your children should be getting taken care of with their diet. And again, I can get back into this. My recommendation to you all out there is, if you're young and you're planning a family, think about this for a moment. Um, your preparation before bringing a child into the world should be seriously considered. And it's something that the medical profession doesn't tell us. And it's such a shame that they don't, because if you think about it, we're all part of nature. One of the things we have, technology has pushed us, and modern living has pushed us away from nature so much, it's unbelievable. But the reality of it is that we're just another animal that lives on this planet, and nature always wants to produce the healthiest um, being or plant or animal or person or whatever it is that is on a production system, let's call it. um, the healthiest, nature wants to always do the healthiest job it can and produce the healthiest child or the healthiest puppy or the healthiest kitten. And look into nature, look into the jungle, the lions, all the animals that live out in the jungles. It's all about the strongest are the ones that breed. So the ones that breed produce the healthiest, strongest um, animals out there, so as the race can survive. We don't do that as human beings. We've stopped. We absolutely don't do that. We never think about it. We just willy-nilly continue to bring more humans into the world all the time, and then stop for a moment and ask, Is that why we have such a sick society? You know? So, what you can do, what vitamins should you give to a child? First and foremost, you should think about who brought the child into the world. How fit and healthy were the parents? So now you're giving the child every chance possible to come in healthy. Um, Now, what nature does, and this is again well known in the scientific world and everywhere else, as soon as that mother becomes pregnant, what the body does is it takes all the minerals it can from the mother. It'll take all the vitamins, it'll take all the food, and it'll feed this child because, hence, nature wants to bring the healthiest child into the world in that moment. So it'll steal stuff from the mother that she barely has and give it to the child to give you a good, healthy child. Great. We have a great, healthy child. So now the mother should really recover. And what happens is maybe in 2 years' time, that woman has another child and she didn't have any awareness of that recovery. So she doesn't do it fully. So nature is going to steal all that stuff from her again and give you another healthy child, and so on and so on. So, where this should start with children is with the mother. And if she's breastfeeding, the mother should be looking after her diet again to produce the best milk to give to the child. That milk is full of all the goodness that the child can live on. It needs nothing else for what, up to around 9 months or something. That child can survive on breast milk. So if the breast milk is good and healthy from a good healthy mother, brilliant. You don't have to think about giving vitamins to a child, except the one that I said. So as now you have the child and the child is grown up and you start to feed the child. Now we have choices to make. And this is where vitamins come in. Good food will have the vitamins in it. And all you need to do to keep your child good and healthy throughout the winter, that was the question at this time of year, give the child good food. Stop going to the convenience packaged stuff. Stop going to the highly processed foods. The baby foods are the same as the adult foods. So make a choice here. Are you going to take care of this little one you brought into the world and give it the best chance possible? They say the first 7 years are so, so important to program everything within that child. There's a big flip comes at 7 years old and then at 14 years old and then at 21. In our systems, in our metabolic system. So those 4 7 years lay an amazing foundation for health. So if you feed the child properly, you don't have to worry about that question you asked. Just take care of her or him. And also, like I said about the soaps, look at what you're putting onto the child's skin. Baby oil, my God, is full of paraffin. Do you realize that talcum powder clogs the pores up? So anything that may need to come out, you're rubbing talcum powder onto a baby, you're clogging up its pores. It can't sweat properly. And God knows what you're pushing in. Talcum powder is, look it up, how bad that stuff is for you. So, look at all these things and you'll have a healthy young child running around and you won't have to worry about these things. And just keep the vitamin D3 levels up. Vitamin D3 is so good for the bones, it's so good for the immune system, the cardiovascular system, and so on and so on. It's absolutely essential. We get it from the sun, and um, unless you're living down here in Spain and out in the sun every day, and or a country like that you can spend some time in the sun, you're really not going to absorb enough of it, especially up in Ireland. So, vitamin D3 for us all is very, very important. Okay, so hopefully that answers that one for you. And I got asked the fourth question, and here's the salesman coming back out at me again. But I know a lot of people did ask me when the lockdown came a few years ago. I was in the middle of teaching a course that I've taught for many years, both here in Ireland and over in Denmark. I've taught it to many, many people to help them understand that we all have the ability to hold a space to heal, for healing. First and foremost for ourselves as we start to understand who we are, and then to train and work in the field that I work in, that I just like to call it I hold space for healing. we all have that ability. I know we all can't be healers. The world needs every single one of us doing every other job possible, but it's a beautiful thing to be able to tap into within yourself. And we all have that ability. So when the lockdown came, I was in the middle of teaching that course that I taught for many years, and I had to stop obviously because we couldn't get together as groups. And it hasn't come around yet again to get it going again, but I have got it booked to start in January. And somebody asked me today, can you speak more about the course if I have time? So we have a bit of time here to speak about it. So let me just explain in depth what it's about. First and foremost, one of the problems I seen, and it happened to me when I trained to be a therapist, um, you know, one of the things that you really need, and that courses find it very hard to give you, is to have the confidence to step out into the world and do the type of work that I do. And to do any type of healing. I've met many, many people over the years who tell me they have qualifications in X, Y, and Z. And I say, so do you practice it? No, no, no. I do it for the family, or you do a little bit myself, but the confidence isn't there for them to step out into the world to do it. So I've been thinking a lot about that in recent years, and trying to figure out how can I add that to the course as well. Because let's face it, the course I teach, it used to be over 5 weekends spread over 5 months. And then I'd encourage everyone to come on a residential, and we do a 5 day residential, and we'd go over each weekend in a day and try and give you as much confidence in yourself as possible. I would have to, you would have to, after the third month, you'd have to have a plinth, and I'd want you working on so many people and giving me the reports to try and give you that confidence, that to know that you can put your hands on the body and make a difference for them. But what I'm doing in January is, I'm doing the course over 3 months because I've really simplified the techniques. And what I'm teaching is teaching people how to sit still, deep within themselves, to just quite simply hold the space with your hands on the body. And the points that I'm going to teach you to touch will definitely give you the opportunity to help a person's body to realign back on a structural level. So it's going to give you the skills that you can help people who are in physical pain, whether it be in joints, and that's your from your feet right up through your ankles, your knees, your hips, your lower back, your spine, the joints here at the neck where the head sits on, the shoulders and elbows, so on. It won't really matter what joint you're working on. These techniques will allow you to sit and hold the person's body so you can tune into what's happening under the surface. You will definitely feel what's called a flexion and extension motion within the bones. And then you'll learn to understand how they can go slightly out of place and cause an awful lot of discomfort within the person's body, i.e., cause physical pain. Um, so that's the 3 weekends will cover all the aspects of that and give you the touch to be able to understand what it feels like when it's in chaos, let's call it, and what it should feel like when it's balanced. So that's where the hands-on part of the course will come. I'll also teach you how to sit in a deep meditative space, to hold the stillness within you, to bring a person into that still place as well, into a deep relaxed place, so their body can actually connect with that stillness and completely unwind. Um, and then the other aspect of the course, and this is where the confidence thing hopefully will come in. Over the 8 week period, it runs for 3 weekends, and you'll be with me for those 3 weekends. I haven't booked a venue yet, but it will definitely be in Dublin. I'm just waiting on numbers to dictate that. And if you are interested in doing it, please book on early, because you're going to dictate whether this course runs or not. Don't do what you Irish guys do all the time on me and wait until the last week, because if I don't have this numbers by the 1st of January, I'm going to probably call it off. I can't sit on it. I have to book flights to fly in. I have to do many, many things to make it happen. So please, if you want to make this happen, support me and get booked on early. I even have a special price if you're booking in early. Um, so the other aspect of it will be we're going to meet on Zoom once a week for the 8 weeks for 2 hour sessions. And in those 2 hour sessions, I'll be talking to you guys. You might be a group on Zoom, but I'll be actually speaking to you about how we can build confidence within ourselves, how we can change our personality, if you like, how we can change the way we function in the world, whether that's from a place of fear or a place of anxiety, and so on and so on. How to stop getting in your own way and change the things that hold you back in life. So if the whole course will take all that in, and I've never done this aspect of it before for people when they're training with me. We always just met in person, and it was all so busy with the techniques I was teaching. Well, I've simplified those techniques down into something really special, and we're going to spend a lot of time speaking about ourselves, who we are, and what makes us who we are, and how we can change that using visualization and meditation on a daily basis. So, is there anything else about the course I need to say to you? You'll get a qualification at the end if you complete the whole thing. You have to complete the whole thing to get the qualification. You have to be there. It's, it won't be the weekly sessions on Zoom won't be something that you can check in with later. You're either there or you're not there. And if you're not on the whole course, you're not on the whole course. What I will do with the Zoom sessions is I'll open them up to people who aren't attending the course, but that'll just be to look at that aspect of yourselves. So if you know someone who's interested in becoming, I call that course a better you. If you know someone that's interested in becoming a better person, a better them, better version of themselves, yeah, you can join that. There'll be a fee separate to the whole course. And don't worry, it won't interfere with anybody that's doing the course. It'll be something that aspect of it will be for everybody. So if you're someone that like to have a look at yourself in a deep way, but don't want to take time out to become a trained healer, well, that's okay. You can just do the Zoom sessions separate. Okay, so that'll all be set up and ready to go when we hopefully start on, if I'm not mistaken, it's the 14th of January, the weekend of the 14th of January. So yeah, that's what the course is about. And is there anything else I need to say on that? Um, Let me think. Not that I can think off the top of my head, but I'm here. Throw questions at me. We have, if you'd like to sit for the next 10 minutes, and I see some of you there can type me in questions. Has anybody else got any other questions that we can fill this gap with? Otherwise, I'll be saying good night to you. If I haven't answered everything about the course, please just type it in there. Let me know. No? Okay, so we'll let it go for this evening. I've ran out of things to say on the questions you asked, and hopefully you got some answers from me. And yeah, look forward to sitting here again next week. So once again, for next week, if you have any questions that I can answer for you, throw them at me. If I can't answer them, I'll be honest. But I usually can, in general, speak about most health issues that you may be happening. So, or you may have happening. And if I don't get any questions, I've something just to say to you as well. I've something quite exciting coming up soon, and I can't really speak about it until I get the products in my hands. But when I um get these products in my hands, I'll do an evening speaking about the whole thing, and I think a lot of you may be interested in what I have to say. So I'm hoping within the next week or two, I'll have the products there, and then I'll speak to you about how good they are and what they're good for, and so on and so on, and hopefully be able to help you out with some of the bigger issues that people unfortunately run into today in the world. So Okay, no more questions coming. So I will love you and leave you. And thank you so much for being there again this evening. And yeah, I'll see you all this time next week. Have a good one. Have a great week. And take care.